What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of Keenan Allen's most creative route running. So we're going to be talking about three separate routes here where he makes this DB look pretty foolish with his routes and how he's able to attack a DB's leverage, know what to do, and have that high football IQ, which allows him to get open. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it teaches you a few things, gives you some insight on how Allen runs his routes. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you need to get better hands, but you maybe don't have a quarterback to throw to you 24/7 every day of the week, throw you 100 passes a day, check out that very first link in the description below for our 30-day catching program, fellas. It is 30 different catching workouts for wide receivers to improve their grip strength, hand-eye coordination that do not require a QB. We map out everything with examples of exercises, and we talk about the exact sets and reps that will help your hands improve. So check out that very first link in the description below, fellas. Let's get started. So first route here, Allen's going to be running this kind of like slide and go stop route. So there's a lot of different moving parts here, a lot of different nuances that can really help you get open. So I'm going to play it full speed. So Allen gives this little hesitation skip, bursts up vertical, puts the brakes on, and then is able to come back to the ball. And he does actually catch this ball in this play also. I know it cuts off a little bit, but I want to make sure we pay attention to this release. So a lot of times Allen, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, they're very, very good at, and some of the top route runners in the game, obviously, they're very good at using this kind of like shuffle slide release to the outside. So if they have to run a slant route, what a lot of guys like to do is they like to work that slide release. DB's inside shade, you slide to the outside, you change up tempo, you slide on like a 45-degree angle like he does here and kind of changes the tempo of the route because that DB will hopefully play the fade. We could give him maybe a crossover, slip back, and run the slant. Now, elite route runners, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, guys like this, they're the two best examples that pop into my mind. They're very good at making their routes look the same. And that is how, as a wide receiver, you are very unpredictable. So you see when he comes off of here, whenever you guys get a guy on a slide release, you do that little hesitation skip, he jumps to the fade, and we run that slant. Anytime that he sees you take that kind of hesitation slide where you change up speed to the outside, that's going to be in the back of his mind. He's seen that before. Maybe he's seen it on film. Maybe we don't even have to get him on this, but he's seen it on film. So when I do a route like a stop route, like a fade route, I want to try to make it build off my slant. So that DB has no capability to predict what I'm doing. We don't want to be predictable with my routes at all. And that's what makes you a good route runner. It's not about necessarily being the fastest guy on the field at all times. It's about knowing what to do, knowing what's going to work, and pairing your routes together. So when he comes off of here, again, he makes it look a lot like a fade, and that comes down to every single route that you run. We hesitate to the outside. Okay, it looks like a slant. All right, he bursts up vertical. Maybe a couple times we hit him with a hezzy go. We did that little slide and go release. So now it comes down to selling the fade. And this is where it gets very, very creative because he's got three separate routes he could run right here. He could do the slide slant, he could do the slide go, or he could do the slide go stop. And all three of those build off the same release. So that DB is forced to have to trust his technique. And what his technique will be is obviously watching the hips, being able to play the speed of Allen. And that's the easy part, fellas, because that's what it comes down to, selling vertical on all my routes. Every single route, you guys know this, if you're familiar with this page, it's all about selling vertical. We're trying to make the DB think you're running a fade until we're not. So then we could get him off, when we could get timing off the route, spacing on the play, we're not getting jammed, we're able to set up the release, we're able to get a step on this DB, that can get us a ton of space because all I got to do now is be able to sell the fade. So I got to keep a good pad level. I got to run in full stride because all those things make that DB thing vertical, and I could get him to open up that gate. All it takes is that violent hip drop, shooting those hips down to be able to get out of this route and create some separation. That's a great job there by Allen, pairing three separate routes that he could run. You could do a slide slant, you could do a slide and go, you could do that slide go, and then stop this thing right off and run that route. Maybe you could run a dig. Maybe you could run a curl, maybe a comeback. There are a lot of different things that you could do off of that same release, but what makes a great route runner is they're able to be unpredictable. They're able to sell vertical on the routes, but also they're able to pair routes and pair releases together, which gets them open. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. And when you look at film of Allen, you see it all the time. He will do that hezzy, crossover, and run the slant. He'll do the hezzy, take off, and go. Very similar to Devontae Adams. They run routes in a very, very similar way. And it's because it works, fellas. It's not complicated. It's not about doing all the fancy things. It's about finding out what works for you and how you guys can execute it and play fast in a live game scenario. Let's watch the thing full speed again one more time. Great job hesitating, pushing vertical, and then snapping this thing off, coming back to that ball. So now, this route I wanted to include is because it seems like this is kind of a probably, maybe a easy situation for us to run, but we have like kind of outside shade man coverage, and we have to run this post route. Now, This is a kind of a common misconception about this coverage that a lot of wide receivers think that they can just take off and run because the DB's outside shade press. But we got to understand why he's outside shade press, why it's important that I move him off the platform, and just pretty much how I can get more separation on this. So let's play this thing full speed. So Allen does a great job of hitting this DB with this kind of hezzy, like wide step, closing the gap, and then he's able to break this thing off on this post. Now, maybe it's a post, maybe it could be a dig. Same thing applies. It does not matter if it's a post or a dig in this case, or a square in. It's the same type of concept when it comes to how to structure your route. So when this DB's lined up outside shade, you have to understand that he is outside shade for a reason. One, he probably has safety help inside. There's probably a safety over here, a linebacker's dropping into coverage, whatever it is, but he has help. So he is completely fine with you taking off and running to the inside. So let's say Allen didn't bother attacking his leverage right now, and he just took off and ran. This DB would get right into his hip pocket, squeeze him over the middle towards that safety, and that would be a very, very tight window for Herbert to put that ball in there. So we got to do our job and widen him. His sole purpose being outside shade is to protect the outside. We know that. He has help inside, but he does not have help to the outside. So if I could threaten him where he doesn't have help, that is what's more likely to get him to move. So when he comes off the line here, he closes the space, he attacks to the outside, gives that little head and shoulder fake, hips and shoulders committed, stepping outside that DB's frame, just to get him to hesitate. Let's keep him honest. Because we got to understand the main thing about route running and what makes guys very good is that they're able to keep timing with their QB, but they're also able to keep spacing on the play. A lot of people are so concerned with not getting jammed, not screwing up the timing, that they don't know how to efficiently get off the line. They'll just take off and run because they're so worried about the quarterback waiting for them or being late or not getting the ball, but they don't threaten the DB at all, and that throwing lane or the spacing of the play is screwed. You have to keep timing, but you also have to keep spacing. And when you can get that DB to widen, you can get that DB to just hesitate for a step, that can keep you on that straight line. So when you run this post, when you run this dig, you have a bigger window before that safety can get over and make a play, which is exactly what that DB in outside shade would want to happen. So now when I get him, let's say now when I attack him outside and I get him to hesitate, what should my game plan be? Game plan should always be to restack. That should be my main goal. 100% of the time it's man coverage, I'm trying to restack. If I have a route that allows for it, that's probably past like 7 yards, that's probably when you would want to try to restack the best you can. Now, Allen is able to actually do that. He's able to get back over the top of this DB. What I mean by restack is when the DB is trailing our back hip where we pretty much stack ourselves over him. Now, when he's trailing me like this, I give a little head fake to the outside. I could give a 1-2. Maybe he uses that rocker step if some of you are familiar with that. But it's very, very easy when you get that DB to trail to get him off of you. You just got to make sure that we give something at the top of the route, like a hip and shoulder fake, a hard cut in the opposite direction to get him to bite. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if I can't restack him? How do I run this route? What if he's just running and he stays hip to hip with me? So that's something that you got to have a plan for. If he's hip to hip with you going throughout the break, something you could do is maybe you lean into him a little bit. I would lean into him with my right shoulder, use my upper. It's kind of like a way of pushing off without actually pushing off. So I'd lean into him with my upper body, then I'd make this cut and break it off. So our goal always needs to be, fellas, anytime I'm facing man coverage, any type of coverage, if I can restack, great, that's easy money. But if I can't restack and he's playing this thing well, I got to have a plan and I got to be able to react off of what he does. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great technique here, understanding that because that DB's outside shade, we have to threaten him to that leverage, and then I could be able to make this break and create some separation. So now, this is going to be like a 10-yard out. We could treat it like a corner, any kind of outside breaking route, really. And what Allen is facing is going to be outside shade off man coverage. So now that we just got done talking about outside shade press with an inside breaking route. So now he has an outside breaking route versus outside leverage. So a route to the leverage. So let's play this thing full speed. So Allen does a great job of attacking the inside shoulder of this DB to force a hip flip. So we talked about this in press. This DB's outside shade for what reason? He's outside shade because he does not want to give up the outside. So if Allen were here and he has to run this 10-yard out, the mistake a lot of wide receivers will make is they think that, oh, I just got to attack his leverage. I got to attack his midline. I got to square him up. I got to try to step on his toes. But a DB who's in outside leverage, if he's taught when a receiver attacks his leverage to keep his leverage. So if you attack him, all he is going to do is widen because he does not have help over here. We talked about this. No different than why when you are off the line and he's outside shade, you attack him. You fake him to the outside because he will widen. He is not going to give you that outside release. He'll do whatever possible. If he's a bad DB, he won't, it doesn't matter. Bad DB is going to be easy to win against. But a good DB, he will keep that leverage. So we have to make sure that we know when to attack a specific shoulder. You would want to attack the inside shoulder of this DB. Because when I could attack that inside shoulder and I can make that move, I could sell like I'm running a post, it's still man coverage. He is still watching our hips. He is still playing us one-on-one. Yeah, maybe he's got help to the inside, but it's still a form of man. He's not going to let you just run. So if I could threaten him to the inside, if I could sell vertical until maybe instead of using this crossover move like Allen does, I attack and I sell vertical until he flips his hips and then I slip under. But it's just, I got to give that QB space to leave me open. Because if I try to widen him, if I just attack his leverage and he weaves and then I break it off, I got maybe like 3 yards. That's an impossible throw for the QB. But now, since I attacked inside shoulder and I'm confident in my move at the top of the break to get him off the ball, to get him to jump, I got plenty of space for that QB to lead me. It's a foot race. And if I get in a foot race with a DB and I know where I'm going and I set it up and this is like giving you a head start on that foot race, I should win every single time. Great job by Keenan Allen understanding that route IQ, attacking the inside shoulder here when he's outside shade and giving himself plenty of space to accelerate and run out to win that rep. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. You guys help keep this channel going, so we definitely appreciate it, fellas. And again, if you guys would like a 30-day catching workout plan, over 30 catching workouts for grip strength, hand-eye coordination with sets and reps all broken down, no QB necessary, check out that very first link below, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.